Listen, I'm going to tell you something about male attraction that will completely shatter what you think you know about relationships. Before you think this is another manipulation tactic video, understand that what I'm revealing comes from watching this pattern destroy thousands of relationships. The moment a woman pulls back, something activates in a man's brain that has nothing to do with love. And until you understand this mechanism, you'll keep confusing his pursuit with genuine connection. Here's the lie everyone believes. They think when a man chases harder after being ignored, it means he finally realized your value, that he woke up and saw what he was losing, that his feelings deepened. That's not what's happening. Not even close. There's a mechanism running in the male brain that has been hardwired over thousands of years of evolution. It's not about you. It's about scarcity, ego protection, and the fear of losing a resource he thought was secure. The moment you stop giving him your attention, his brain registers a threat, not to his heart, to his status, his identity, his sense of control. Let me break down the first layer of this. Scarcity principle. You see, the human brain assigns higher value to things that are rare or difficult to obtain. This isn't romantic. It's survival programming. When you are available, responsive, pouring your feminine energy into him, his brain categorized you as abundant, secured, no urgency. But the second you pull back, stop texting first, stop lighting up when he enters the room, you shift from abundant to scarce. And scarcity triggers pursuit. I knew this woman once, beautiful, successful, completely in love with a guy who kept her at arm's length for months. She cooked for him, showed up to his events, made herself available whenever he called. He was lukewarm, friendly, but distant. Then one day she got tired. She stopped initiating. She started filling her calendar with her own life. Within 2 weeks, he was at her door, suddenly talking about commitment, about how much he missed her, about wanting to make things official. She thought he'd finally seen her worth. But here's what really happened. His brain detected the loss of a resource and activated the chase mechanism to restore what he perceived as his territory. The consequences of this pattern are brutal. Women mistake this surge of attention for emotional breakthrough. They think the relationship is finally moving forward. So they lean back in, they open up again, they give him the validation he's seeking. And the moment he feels secure again, the moment the scarcity disappears, so does his intensity. The cycle repeats. She pulls back, he chases. She returns, he retreats. This isn't love. This is psychological conditioning. But here's where it gets really twisted. The ego protection layer. For men, being ignored or deprioritized by a woman they thought was invested triggers a specific kind of psychological wound. It's not that he loves you more when you ignore him. It's that your absence threatens his self-image. Deep down, beneath the confidence and the bravado, most men carry a fear of being unwanted. Your attention has been feeding his ego, confirming his desirability, keeping that fear at bay. The moment you withdraw, that fear surfaces, and his response isn't love. It's panic management. Time and again, I see women interpret this panic as passion. They don't realize they're watching a man soothe his own ego wound, not pursue genuine connection. The chase becomes about neutralizing the threat to his self-worth. He needs to prove to himself that he can still have you if he wants, that you weren't rejecting him, that he's still in control. This is where narcissistic patterns hide inside what looks like romance. Once he gets confirmation that you still want him, that you're still available, the urgency evaporates. Because it was never about building something real with you. It was about restoring his internal equilibrium. Here's the darkest truth about this dynamic. The more emotionally unavailable the man, the stronger this pattern becomes. Men who are commitment phobic, emotionally avoidant, or genuinely narcissistic are the ones who respond most dramatically to being ignored. Why? Because they're addicted to the validation of being wanted without the responsibility of actually showing up. Your presence requires them to engage, to reciprocate, to be accountable. But your absence while you still exist in their orbit lets them have the ego boost of being desired without any of the actual work. I watched this play out hundreds of times. A woman finally gets exhausted and steps back. The man suddenly becomes the pursuer he never was before. She thinks she found a secret formula. She thinks she's finally getting what she wanted. But pay attention to what he's actually offering. Is he showing up differently? Is he doing the emotional work he avoided before? Or is he just love bombing you with attention designed to pull you back and so things can return to how they were, with him in control and you doing the heavy lifting? The validation addiction pattern is the third layer. Men are conditioned from childhood to derive their worth from external achievement and conquest. Relationships become another arena for this. When you're consistently available, you're no longer a conquest. You're secured territory. But the moment you become unavailable, you shift back into conquest mode in his psychology. And conquest mode activates all his pursuit behaviors. Not because he values you more, because his brain is wired to pursue what feels like a challenge. This is why women who play hard to get often attract men initially, but can't keep them long-term. The man isn't actually interested in her. He's interested in the game, in proving he can win. Once he does, once she's conquered, the interest fades. He moves on to the next challenge. The woman is left confused, wondering why he lost interest the moment she let him in. It's because he was never interested in intimacy. He was interested in validation through pursuit. But here's the paradox. There are men who do wake up when you pull back. Men who genuinely didn't realize what they had until they started losing it. How do you tell the difference? The test is simple. Watch what he does after you respond to his renewed pursuit. Does he maintain the energy? Does he follow through with actions, not just words? Does he start doing the work to repair what was broken? Or does his effort evaporate the moment he feels you're secured again? A man who's genuinely waking up will be consistent. He won't just love bomb you back into position and then return to his old patterns. He'll sustain change behavior. He'll take responsibility for how he showed up before. He'll do the uncomfortable work of addressing why he took you for granted. But a man who's just managing his ego, the moment your attention returns, so does his complacency. His texts slow down again. His effort decreases. The cycle resets. Many people experience this and blame themselves. They think they didn't maintain the mystery long enough, that they gave in too soon, that they need to keep playing games to keep his interest. This is the trap. You cannot build a real relationship on the foundation of scarcity manipulation. If the only way to keep him engaged is to perpetually withhold your presence, you're not in a relationship. You're in a psychological game that will exhaust you both. The mirror effect is the fourth layer. When you stop filling the space, when you stop initiating, when you stop doing all the emotional labor, you create a mirror. Suddenly, he can see the imbalance. See how much you were carrying. See how little he was contributing. For some men, this is genuinely confronting. It forces self-reflection. But for many, the discomfort of that mirror doesn't lead to growth. It leads to just enough pursuit to get you to stop holding up the mirror, to get things back to normal, whereas lack of effort was obscured by your abundance of it. There's something else happening beneath all of this. Intermittent reinforcement. This is one of the most powerful psychological conditioning tools that exists. When your attention becomes unpredictable, when you're sometimes available and sometimes not, it creates an addictive pattern in his brain. Like a slot machine. He never knows when he'll get the reward of your attention. So he keeps pulling the lever. This creates an intense but hollow form of attachment. It's not love. It's conditioning. And it explains why toxic relationships, where someone is hot and cold, create such powerful bonds. The unpredictability itself becomes the addiction. You see, the male brain isn't wired for consistent appreciation of consistent presence. It's wired for threat detection and resource acquisition. This served our ancestors well when survival required constant vigilance. But in modern relationships, it creates this twisted dynamic where stability feels boring and chaos feels exciting. Where a woman who shows up consistently gets taken for granted, and a woman who disappears suddenly becomes irresistible. I've watched women torture themselves trying to be the right amount of available, trying to calculate the perfect distance that will keep him engaged without playing games. It's exhausting, and it misses the entire point. If you have to carefully calibrate your availability to maintain someone's interest, that person isn't genuinely interested in you. They're interested in the chase, the validation, the ego boost, not in building a life with you. The test is simple. Stop managing his interest. Show up authentically. Be available when you want to connect. Pull back when you need space, not as strategy, but as self-care. Watch what happens. A man who wants you will match your energy and effort. A man who wants the idea of you, who wants the validation of being wanted, will only engage when he senses he's losing ground. The difference becomes crystal clear once you stop performing. Here's what I need you to understand. This pattern isn't your fault. You didn't create his psychology. You can't fix it with the right behavior. His inability to value consistent presence, his need for scarcity to feel attraction, his addiction to the chase over actual intimacy. None of that is your responsibility to manage. Some men grow out of this. They mature. They learn to value stability and partnership. But many don't. And you cannot sacrifice your peace trying to be the woman who teaches him. Your presence is not the problem. His inability to appreciate it is. And no amount of withdrawing, ignoring, or playing hard to get will transform a man who's trapped in ego-driven pursuit patterns into a man capable of genuine partnership. Understanding this doesn't solve it, but it frees you from the false belief that you need to be less available, less loving, less present to be valued. You don't. You need to be with someone who's evolved enough to recognize the gift of your presence without needing to almost lose it first.